On the question yes, that you are raising, Easter, I've never looked at Easter from the Greco-Roman perspective, where it's Ishtar, which is a Greco-Roman goddess of fertility and etc. That's why you find all these rabbits that are around speaking of sex, then eggs, speaking of fertility. Then they make the children in Easter, and then the children will be born in December 25 or in the month of December. Then they would sacrifice those children. So the Roman Greco space is not actually, Easter is not actually a clean thing. It comes to us with a very complex, quote unquote, pagan, totally out. There's no way you can be talking about Easter bunnies and Easter eggs and hot cross buns. Then you need to, if you go into each one of those components and find out. And this for me, by the way, is the way it gets interesting. Young people must research. And just do a Google. Easter bunnies, and Easter buns and Easter eggs. What is the history of these things? Just type it on a phone right now. You will find a totally different picture from what the church is celebrating as the death of Jesus. But should we then move over into the death of Jesus as being Passover or Easter? We can't do that without understanding the Israeli Hebrew background, which talks of a nation trapped in colonialism, in slavery, in Egypt, using the biblical text. Whether it is true or not, it's a conversation for another day. But the biblical text will tell us that Amanton was Israel were locked up in Egypt. And then their God, spiritual intervention, says to Moses, let my people go. And when he comes into Egypt, he says, before you go, collect some money, offerings from the Egyptians. Just tell them we want some gold and silver so that we can worship our God in the wilderness. That was their payment for the 400 years of slavery they had gone through. And in the night, then kill a lamb. And after killing a lamb, then put the blood on your doorposts. Go inside the house, roast the thing, and eat, and prepare, and go. On the same night, God was busy killing the firstborns of the Egyptians. And in the morning, early morning, they left to depart. Now, if you look at that storyline, then we don't need to discuss Easter in the spiritual context. We need to discuss Easter in the political context. That actually Easter and Passover is a political liberation of a people that are stuck in a slave system. And if you can take that concept of Passover and move it to Africans, juxtaposing it with the resurrection of Jesus, are we going to be resurrected on Sunday? As Africans, free from the colonial budgets, free from the colonial health system, free from the colonial education systems, free from the colonial economy, free from the colonial political system. So you find that these are just celebrations that we are doing without necessarily actually appreciating the depth of the celebration itself. And I wish Christians would go back and ask, where are we now? We're in Egypt, on our own land. But we are slaves on our own land. So for me, Easter does not bring in the excitement and the euphoria of Jesus hanging on a cross, and Christians must feel sorry for that. It must actually raise in us a repatriation, a walking back of some sort, a living this to that, whether it is a mental walking, emotional walking, psychological walking, spiritual walking, political walking, but ideological walking away from Egypt. And beautiful part to our oppressors is that before we leave, we need payment for the years that you've abused us. Now, to me, that's theology. Because you cannot talk about liberation without restitution, reparations, and repayments. And the Easter concept for me, I don't even think a pinch of the ministers who are promoting the death and resurrection of Jesus understand the background of Passover. But should we decide to discuss it from the crucifixion of Jesus? Again, as a philosopher, I stand back and I look and I said, so who has been crucified? Is the white man on the cross or is the black man on the cross? Who are the two thieves on the left? Are these not the Chinese and the Americans? And the Africans are hanging at the center. What does that mean for us as Africans?